This episode of Translating Love is brought to you by Masters of Coffee. Because Masters of Coffee is a local Austrian company, this ad will be in German.
Yes. Zu einem ordentlichen Morgenritual gehört nur eines.
Poop?
No, Coffee. Of course. Und diese Episode wird gesponsert von Masters of Coffee. Seit Anfang 2021 gibt es sie bereits und Matthias und Bernd bringen ihr Barista-Know-how mit. Ihr Kaffee wird nicht nur online, sondern bereits in diversen Geschäften vertrieben. Und das Coole ist, man kann sie auch renten. Das heißt, rent a Barista und man kann die Masters mieten. Was auch immer ansteht, guter Kaffee sollte nicht zu kurz kommen. Das heißt, bei Hochzeiten oder bei anderen Veranstaltungen gibt es guten Kaffee direkt von den Brühern. Und das Tolle ist, es gibt auch Workshops, so man kann für zu Hause einfach lernen, einen guten, super ordentlichen Kaffee zubereiten. Super cool. Und ein richtig cooler Service ist Pimp meine Kaffeemaschine. Also man kann wirklich seine Kaffeemaschine individualisieren mit Griffen, mit Schnickschnack, super cool. Also es ist sehr einzigartig. Und wer mehr über die Masters of Coffee erfahren will, geht auf die Homepage www.mastersofcoffee.eu, auf Facebook unter Masters of Coffee Austria oder auf Instagram unter @themastersofcoffee und alle Links findet ihr auch unten in der Description. Das Tolle ist auch, wer in der Linzer Area ist, kann sich auch ein persönliches Bild machen und jederzeit auf einen Café bei den Jungs im Store in der Leonfeldner Straße 328 in der Lederfabrik vorbeischauen. Hello everybody, welcome... What?
Startling.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Translating Love with the main host Wolfgang.
Dani? And the co-host, Woifi.
The main host...
Danielle?
The co-host Danielle and the main host Woifi. That is me, and the main host is Woifi.
Danielle. It's funny because he said the main host is Woifi, but pointed to me when he said the main host, so... You heard it here first, folks.
To clarify, I'm the main host.
I am the main host, and Woifi is the co-host.
No, you're not. You're 1 year younger, therefore you're the co-host, because you don't know as much as I do.
I'm a woman, though, so I'm wiser than you. So therefore, I'm the co-host. I mean the main host, god damn it.
You heard it here first from Danielle. She is the co-host, and I'm the main host, which makes me more important than her.
Wow.
So we established that. Welcome back to a new episode of this very important podcast. Why are you laughing? It's not funny. It's a very important podcast. What people would do without our podcast, I don't know.
They'd probably all die. The world would end.
So you're welcome, world. We're not letting it end.
They would start like looting stores and
right.
Right. Causing riots and shit.
Because that's what happened when we paused for like a few weeks.
Didn't you see the chaos? People with like picket signs saying, "Bring back translating love."
Oh yeah.
I
kind of missed that.
It was really extreme.
Can we talk about the fact that it's 28 degrees today and it's in the middle of September and it feels like it's still summer and it's so weird?
Yeah. For those of you, probably most of you listening in the States,
90.
28 degrees is about 90.
Yeah, and that's not normal.
Not 90. I would say 85.
Let's check that.
I think it's 85.
Let's check
because
that.
I think 90 is like 30 something. 30.
Danielle, you can't just say I think.
But I'm pretty sure.
Danielle? Oh,
82. Haha. 90 degrees. 90 degrees my ass. What?
You have to respect the US for still sticking to Fahrenheit and all the other weird shit that makes no sense.
Inches, feet.
Right. It's also stupid. And the other day, I showed Danielle a meme where it wasn't a meme. It was like a part of like a news article, a headline, and it said, a pothole in somewhere Florida, a sinkhole in somewhere Florida open up.
The size of 2 washing machines.
No, 7. Approximately 7 washing machines. You're like... What the fuck are you doing? You're trying
That's how we measure things, Wolfgang.
Yeah, like everything but the obvious choice. And fun fact, scientists in the US use the metric system because it makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
You know what's even funnier though?
What?
In the US, we use inches, but we also use centimeters.
I know.
It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Pick one.
And you also use ounces, but then you use milliliters.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
Not milliliters is for fluids, though.
Yeah. Oh, ounces is not.
Ounces you
what is
can't
the thing?
really properly
What is the
measure
thing that is
fluids.
fluids?
Fluid ounces. We have fluid ounces.
No, but the other thing.
Milliliters.
Oh, but then the fluid ounces, that's what I mean.
Fluid ounces, yeah, which is also so stupid.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's also like, what?
Yeah. It's so, but rant ending. Today we're talking about death, baby. Let's talk about
No,
you.
come on, you had such a good opportunity for Billie Eilish there.
Oh, what is it?
She has a new song, Everybody Dies, Surprise,
Oh, everybody
surprise.
dies, surprise, surprise. Yeah, we're talking about death because it's such a fun topic. Dun, dun, dun. I'll probably replace that sound with the real sound. Or not.
But now it doesn't make sense because you just said I'll probably replace that sound with the real sound. And if they hear the real sound, they're like, what are you talking about?
That's true. But yeah, we're talking about death. And I think it's an interesting topic because a lot of people try to avoid talking about death or thinking about death or even
okay, bye. See you later. Bye.
acknowledging the fact that at some point everybody dies. And then it brings me to Jeff Bezos, who just they just announced that Jeffrey Bezos invested like a bunch of $1 million into like a company that tries to reverse aging.
What?
Yeah. So I don't know. That guy's like almost 60 now.
Benjamin Button reverse aging, where it's I think, like you're gonna age backwards now, or like just
there are a lot of
slow the effects.
There are a lot of
aging.
companies and a lot of scientists. I mean, obviously trying to find out why. I mean, they already kind of know why we're aging, but try to reverse the effect on cells. And basically, I mean, I think the main approach is to basically try to find out. I mean, aging is like a thing for cancer, for example, or other diseases, because at some point your old cells are getting faulty, and then
why not put all of that money into cancer research?
Danielle, because that's not what rich people are interested in. Rich people want to
solve the problem, not like let's reverse it.
Rich people want to live forever, right?
Yeah, so find a way to cure cancer. Find a way to cure Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I mean that's some
where
people
you should
do.
invest the money.
It doesn't matter, but to that was
Bezos.
sidetracked. But yeah, we're talking about death, and I think death is something that will happen to
you
all.
Think?
The thing is, I think we might still be in the generation that outlives or that lives much longer than other people before us.
I mean, I think we will, but we're vegan, and I think vegans
No,
live longer.
No, that's not what I mean.
But
I
you
think
mean our entire generation?
I think we will still live in the time where we have breakthroughs in medicine and treatments that will make us live much longer. I'm talking about curing cancer. I'm talking about curing Alzheimer's. I'm talking about curing other degenerative diseases that kill us eventually.
Mm-hmm.
We might not. We might also be the last generation that lives to a certain age and then dies because of those things. But it could be that we still see those things happening.
My sister sent me a video the other day, because she's like me, very afraid of death, like to the point where it's like close panic attacks if we think about it too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent me this video because she said misery loves company. And she's like, I watched this video and I need someone to be miserable with me. So she sent it to me.
Yep.
And it's basically this guy explaining like very, very quickly how little time we have.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, he's like the average based on worldwide averages. So he took the average in certain countries or parts of the world for how old you live and then made a worldwide average. And it's about 80 years old.
Yeah.
And
it's nothing.
Which is nothing. And then he was like, yeah, but you also have to kind of think about subtract the time from when you're born to a certain age, or basically, to your 20s. Because in your 20s, you really start living your life. Yeah. So he's like, okay, then subtract that. Then you have 60 years left. But then subtract, you sleep X amount of hours per night, or you should. So then you subtract all of the time that takes out. And it averaged out to something like you basically have 20 living, like awake years, like conscious years of your life, which is so horrifying to think about.
Yeah.
And it's this really interesting, but it's also eye-opening because I sent back to her like, well, that was super depressing. But because I'm 30 and he's averaging it for people who are in their 20s. And so, yeah, I just thought it was super interesting. But it also it's super eye-opening to think about how much time we really, like, waking hours we actually experience in life. And you should think about that when you think about, like, the things you want to do with your life. Because you spend so many waking hours. I mean, how often do you, like, lay in bed, not you specifically, just you as a general term, like, lay in bed and watch YouTube videos?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden 2 hours are gone, or even 45 minutes, where it's like that shit adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, humanity itself has been around for like a small fraction of time in Earth's history, basically. Like the dinosaurs alone were around, like, I think 20 times more than we are, something like that, maybe a little less. So that alone gives you like a sense of how, like, I would say a little time we already have on this planet, and like humanity, I mean. But then I don't know what the exact number is. Yes, we sleep obviously more time than we are awake. So
no, we sleep less than we're awake.
I mean,
we sleep on average 8 hours a night.
No, sure. But we spend a lot of time on this planet sleeping. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's where our sponsor comes in with Sleep Number. No, I wish. So yeah, I think that's a good point in terms of we should use the time we have in the sense that we should make the best out of it.
I mean, you basically just repeated everything.
Right. But then I think at the same time, I think because, there's this quote, like, live every day like it would be your last or something like that, which is nice, obviously. But at the same time, what does that mean? I mean, if you really would know, okay, this is my last day, you probably spend all the money you can and do the wildest shit, which is something you can't do every day, obviously. And then at some point you have to probably work as well.
But I think you don't necessarily have to take that quote so literally.
No, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's at the end of the day, you should say, okay, this was a good day. A good day, was a fulfilling day. I did some meaningful shit. I maybe worked out, or maybe went for a walk. Maybe I visited someone.
Meaningful, or
whatever.
Every day,
or maybe you just had a nice talk with a coworker, or you bonded with someone, or you did like a good thing, or something like that, where you can look back at least at one thing during the day, where like, okay, this was nice. Yeah. This was fulfilling. This was meaningful to me or to someone else, maybe. But let's talk about death.
I mean, we've already been talking about death. Yeah, you're acting like that was the intro.
No. But I think death is an interesting concept because I like the idea of not giving a shit anymore.
I don't.
And, I mean, the thing is, there was a time before we were here and you didn't give a shit about that time because you weren't here. Obviously, you couldn't give a shit about it because there was not a you being around it. But obviously, we can look back at it and we can look into history books or on YouTube and watch things that happened before we were here, and we can say, okay, this happened, and maybe we can even learn from it. Wink, wink. But I think it's the same in the future. I mean, first of all, we don't know when we die, so it could be tomorrow, it could be in 2 days, it could be in 20 years, it could be in 70 years. But in the end, it doesn't matter because we won't be around it anymore. And I think for me, the concept of not giving a shit anymore, like not even being here anymore, not experiencing anything anymore. The thing is, how would I know? Because I don't, you don't know. You just don't know anything anymore.
But that That's exactly what terrifies me, because I like being alive. I like experiencing things, even the shitty things. And I don't know. I just have this whole thing. If I think too deeply about it, it really freaks me out. But it's like I literally can't grasp the concept of nothing. Like, I can't grasp the concept of that, because it's like, how do you go from all of this to all of a sudden nothing? There's just nothing. And I know that I don't know that there's nothing, but thinking about the fact that there's nothing freaks me out. Because like, how how can there just be nothing?
Yeah, I imagine it just being black.
But that's horrible.
No, it's not.
I mean,
because
sure, you're not
there
conscious,
anymore. You're not. There's nothing.
But I mean, sure. Once the thing that it doesn't freak me out, like, to know that I won't experience that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't experience that there's nothing. But thinking about the fact that there, at some point, it's just done. You know, that freaks me out, because it's like, I love the idea of reincarnation, but reincarnation also freaks me out. It's like, I can't win with these things.
I think the whole, for example, if you would say, okay, we'll live forever, like literally
I would
forever,
hate that.
Everybody would hate it at some point, because what is there to do anymore? And from what is the end goal? There's no end goal anymore. You basically just do. At some point, you repeat yourself. Yeah. At some point, you're done with everything. And I think if people would actually live forever, people would kill themselves. They find a way to kill themselves at some point, because nobody wants to live forever. The concept of living forever is not only crazy, but is not meant to be. That, I mean, first of all, time. I mean, we would need to go into concept of time. We don't. But at the second, I mean, everything around on this world has like a time limit. If you look at, like, for example, stone or wood or things that are not like living, even those things are dying. Even those things disappear at some point. Every living being dies. Some things maybe reappear again. Like if you think of trees like go into wind. Essentially, they're not dying, but they essentially go, as, I mean, technically trees die at some point. Trees don't live forever, but they live a long time, some of them. And then they die, and then they're dead. So I think the concept of us dying is not something that is just random. It has to happen at some point.
Sure, but this is my problem.
Let's take a quick break first. What is your problem?
Okay, so this is my problem. I am scared of the fact that I'll die and that there will be nothing. But on the other hand, I would hate to live forever. And on the other hand, the third hand, if I were reincarnated and I came back and lived another life, I would fucking hate that, because I don't want to be like a teenager again. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through all of that crappy heartbreak and, all of the first love shit. I don't want to go through that again. That was horrible. But then there's like, okay, what if you come back as a dog? Great. I would love coming back as a dog. However, a dog's life is also short, and maybe I get hit by a car, or maybe I have owners that abuse me. It's like, I don't want, so it's like every alternative scares me.
The thing is, you would know anyways. That's the beauty of it.
That's not true. There are some people who feel their past lives.
Some people, but whatever, if you believe in it, if you don't believe it, if you think it's bullshit, if you don't think it, you wouldn't know. The most people are not aware of that and wouldn't know. So that aside, the thing is, they're like 90%, 99% you wouldn't know anyways.
I feel like if I were reincarnated and came back, I feel like I would feel my past life. Maybe not know everything, but I feel like I would. At least this version of myself, because who knows, maybe I've already lived a bunch of lives, Who knows?
If reincarnation is a thing, then we probably all did at some point, yeah.
You sure?
But I think that's the beauty of it. You don't know, and it doesn't matter in the end. And at the same time, I think the beauty of not living forever and of having this thing that connects us all, which is death, and hopefully not a violent death or death of war or whatever, is that we all go towards something, we all have this thing that connects us. And so we maybe can use this time on Earth to, make it a little better, maybe inspire other people to be better, maybe use this time in a profound way. Maybe even if you have like a following or something. I like people who have a big following, like, I don't know, movie stars or even social media stars, and to try to use that for bettering themselves, but also trying to, better their followers and try to educate them about important issues. And I think that's something that is very inspiring, but at the same time is only inspiring because we have a limited time on this earth. Because sure, there are other threats like global warming and stuff like that, but in the end, if we would live forever, who would care about that shit? Probably not a lot of people.
I actually see it differently.
Okay.
I think that people would care more if we lived forever, because we would live forever but would lose our resources. We know that we live forever, we can't die, and I think that would encourage us to take care of the planet that we're on, because it's literally all we have. But if we're going to die anyways, it's like, then why should I care if I'm going to die?
Yeah, I agree, sure.
But if this is our only planet and we know that we're going to live forever, then we're not going to let it die. Otherwise, where will we be?
At the same time, I think if living forever would further greed more and like power hungry people and people who try to, if you live forever, you want that forever to be as nice as possible.
I think we would have a shit ton more, I should say, power problems.
Yeah.
What
is the first time where you were like consciously aware of the concept of death?
I don't know. Probably would, like, when my dog died, my first dog. But
what was the first dog?
Claire. She was a golden retriever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was 6 or 7, I think, when we put her down. And I remember it so vividly. It was horrible. But she was like 13 or something. And she had either cancer or some really serious illness that, she couldn't do it anymore. But that was hard, because we were all there when she died. But I guess, so a pet, I think that's a lot of kids' first experience with death. But at that point, I think I also, I don't know, I grew up in a Christian household, and so we're kind of taught a little bit about death anyways, and my parents were really good about talking to us about it, like when Claire died. But
you were also introduced in the more fearful side of death, like if you do things like that, you go to hell.
Not from my parents, but from the church.
Right, that's 1,000%. What I'm saying, yeah. And so I think that, like, the upbringing of yours and
I was scared. They scared
you. You were basically taught of death, like you were scared of death. Sure, there was the concept of heaven, but that's something that, you go to heaven, sure, if you're like a good Christian or whatever. But I think the technique that still a lot of religion uses is, if you die and do certain things, if you behave a certain way, then you go to hell, or you come to this place.
That was so like brainwashed into my head that I still think that sometimes. Like, if I do something that I'm not super proud of myself for doing, I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to go to hell. I need to do something to like counter that, or to like atone for that. Because even though at this point in my life, I don't know what I believe in. I don't not believe in something, but I also don't believe in something. I'm kind of like, maybe there's something, maybe there's not. Show me the proof.
Yeah.
But like, I'm open to the idea of something, but who knows? And so I still have it so drilled into my head, like, if there is something and I'm a bad person, then I'm going to burn for the eternity.
So, but I think that's the reason why you are still maybe a little unsure about death. Sure, the concept of, I think that's a scary thing for a lot of people, because you don't know. You just don't know. So, and knowing that there might be nothing
and being
scares
brought
a lot
up,
of people.
Like, being taught that there is something. Yeah. You're taught 1,000% this exists, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a weird concept to teach.
That's why the thing is,
nobody who teaches that can know that it 1,000% exists.
And my brain works more in the concept of a scientist, where, if you can prove something, it's not real. It's a concept.
Yeah.
It might help some people cope with things.
Right.
That's totally fine, but it's still a concept that is man-made until it's proven wrong or right.
Yeah.
Therefore, I like the idea of there's nothing. Because if there's nothing, you don't know anyways, because how would you know? Because there's nothing. So I don't like the idea of heaven, of the eternal life in heaven where everything, is having its own cloud or whatever you want to believe. I don't like this idea because in my opinion, it's bullshit. But at the same time, I hate the idea of people, trying to make a point of if you behave a certain way, you go to hell, this eternal place where you suffer forever. What the fuck? What the fuck? You try to push people in making the right decisions.
And also,
if
God existed, what kind of God would be like, oh, you lied a lot, you're going to burn forever?
What if we talk about that, what God gives kids cancer?
We can go into that
sure. But I don't see, for me, for example, I don't really know when I was first really introduced to death.
Because your first experience.
I mean, when my grandpa died, but the thing is, first of all, I don't really remember much about that time. I remember him being brought to the hospital and being in the hospital in like a coma for a couple of days, and then he died. But I don't really remember much about it, and I also don't really remember being really sad about it, but also not, he was there, obviously, but he was there most of the time when I wasn't really, when my memory wasn't really, that developed yet. So I don't have a lot of memory about him. And therefore, there was not a big relationship in the sense that I would miss him. So I don't really remember that concept. But then, of course, pets. And one of the hardest one was like our first cat, because we grew up with him, and after 19 years he died. No, not 19. Yeah, 19 years he died, or 20 years, something like that. 19, 20 years he died. So that was like, I think, one of the first hardest hit in terms of death. Obviously, it was already very old, so
very old.
Yeah, but older. So I was already introduced to death, but that was like the first bigger loss in my life. But I don't know, I was never really taught about death. Sure, we went to church and stuff like that, but I didn't give a shit about all the shit that they praised or all of the stuff that we learned in religion. I didn't really care. And also in our religious upbringing, or in my religious upbringing, the really older concept of hell and heaven and all that stuff, and the punishing God and stuff was not really taught. So I think I, for myself, developed into this more so belief that there is nothing after death, which gives me peace.
But did the church teach that there's nothing after death? That would surprise me.
No, that's something I developed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the weird thing is that with my anxiety, I weirdly have this, when I'm super anxious and I'm in my head and stuff like that, I have this weird fear of not dying, but dying in a really painful or a horrible way, in the sense that you suffer for years.
Yeah.
That's something, I think that's a lot of people fear that, in the sense that you wouldn't like that, obviously. You wouldn't like that to happen to you. But obviously with anxiety, you obsess about it, and that's something I have to overcome. And it is not really related to dying. It's just the concept of getting something or developing a disease that slowly kills you after years. That's something I don't like, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like you said, probably a lot of it comes from my religious background and like how I was taught about death, like in the church. But I think a lot of fear also comes from, because I've had a lot of loss within my family. And a lot of it was in a very, very, very short time span, like over 4 or 5 years, where so many family members died in really crazy ways, like that were just not expected. And I think that also had a really massive effect on me because of the age that I was when it happened. It was between the ages of 14 and 19.
Yeah.
And so I think just not only feeling the loss myself, but also experiencing what it's like to see your family members grieving. And, you know, constantly it felt like we were going to a funeral all the time, even though it wasn't really all the time, but it felt like that, where it's like, this is becoming so normal almost. And I don't know, just the fact that they weren't there anymore. And that was really hard for me too, just to be like, this is someone that I used to see all the time, and now they're just not here. And it's, I think that had a really big effect on me, and that also led me into a pretty deep depression. I think that's a lot where my depression started, was around the time when all of my family was kind of suffering and people were dying. And
no, I mean, I get that. I think for example, if you have like a disease and you know you die, I think the concept of leaving back people you love, maybe like even family or kids, I think is super scary and not easy to work through. But at the same time, that's something you don't have to be concerned about, because sure, it's nice to know that, you know, they're financially stable or whatever, or they have a support system. But at the same time, that's something they have to figure out once you're gone. And I think that's something that I don't like, obviously, knowing that, for example, I would die younger and there's still a family that needs something or whatever. I mean, sure, at least I know that there are a lot of friends and family here who would support the whole thing, but still, that's something I don't like about. But at the same time, I like I don't know who said that. It's not really a quote, but, you know, if you are dead, I think Ricky Gervais said that, but I think something like, if you're dead, you don't give a shit about anything anymore because you're dead. So it doesn't matter when you're dead. It doesn't matter if someone's grieving. It doesn't matter if someone lost you, you know, because you're dead. It doesn't matter. They are basically have to deal with the whole shit.
I know,
and that gives me comfort in the sense that it's weird, but that gives me comfort in the sense that it's not my shit anymore, you know? As selfish it sounds, but at the same time it's not, because we all die. We can't decide when we die. Sure, we can, you know, try to avoid certain things, but it's not in our hand. It's not really in our hand. So
to an extent, it is in our hands.
No, sure, to an extent, sure. But if you're living a good life, if you're trying to be healthy, and if you live up to a certain age, then it's not up to you when you go. And therefore, I think it's not selfish to say, okay, I'm gone, so I don't give a shit about anything anymore. You know, sure, it's nice to say I have like a money saved for the occasion, and I know that my family is doing well. That's super nice. But at the same time, who cares, because you're gone? I mean, that gives me comfort.
That doesn't give me comfort. I still want to, I don't want to say fuck it, you know? If I die, I don't care how you get on with the whole thing, you know?
But the thing is, you don't have an option. You don't care.
Nah, but I can care before I die, on the chance that I die, that I feel like if something were to happen, sure, you would be grieving, but I wouldn't be concerned about the little things that need to, like, you know, if we have a will,
obviously,
or if we have
obviously, sure. But again, nobody cares. You don't care because you're dead.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bring me any comfort. It doesn't bring me discomfort, but it doesn't bring me comfort either.
It's just, for me, it's that, you know, when I'm gone, when I'm done with the whole thing, I know that I'm not laying somewhere or being like ash that is worrying. You know, you won't hear me from the urn like, worry, 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 worry. Oh, the ash is worrying again. We're doing something wrong. Yeah. But I'm super interested in you, the listener. What is your a relationship to death, or are you like fearful of death, or how do you cope with the whole dying concept at some point? Because I think a lot of people have different opinions and different ways to do that. So I would totally love to hear about that. If you hit us up on our Instagram or email us on translatinglovepodcast@gmail.com, that would be really cool to hear. Do you have something to add?
I don't.
Okay. If you like what you hear, Subscribe, please.
Like the podcast, share the podcast.
And give us a review on Apple Podcast.
Theme tune. Sing the theme tune.
And we hear each other next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.